All right, so what is going on, everybody? We have I can't believe we're at episode 34. So episode 34 of the Not an Accident podcast. I'm attorney Kevin, and I'm so excited to have our guest today, who's been a buddy for a long time, Mr. Elliot Caldwell in the house. What is going on, my man?
What's up, bro? Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming on. Obviously, I mean, just watching your content, I always brag about, researching my guests and stuff like that, and just watching your content, your podcast, the podcast that you've been on. Dude, you're crushing it. I mean, absolutely killing it. So with all that being said, I appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to get into, my questions are a little bit more pointed. We don't go into as much of the backstory with our guests and things like that. I try to get as much value as possible. One of the big things that I want to start out with is a lot of people get comfortable in their lives. They just they want to make a change, but they don't make that change. They just, maybe next year, maybe this or maybe that. But you took a massive change. You were a teacher, correct me if I'm wrong, and then went into this, incredible operation now. Can you kind of talk about mindset a little bit, massive change and how that went about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we don't go into backstory much on the pod here, but I think the backstory.
But you're welcome to.
I think the quick backstory is important from not being prideful about it, but like if I can do it kind of deal, anybody can do it. So 2017, I was a high school teacher. Then long story short, a sales job opened up in Tampa from a guy I knew. I took the job. I was making $37,000 a year with my master's as a teacher. That was the 2016, 2017 school year. And then in this...
You had your master's?
Yeah, making $37K. My wife had her bachelor's making $32K.
Okay.
And so we were killing it. We were rolling. And that was before taxes. And then the next school year, so the 2017, 2018 school year, kind of in the sales job, it was a high school sports fundraising company. So I was still kind of in high schools. I think I made like $150K that first
Game
school
changer.
year. Yeah. So no one in my family has ever made, six figures in their life. And I was never going to as a teacher. So, from then, until kind of 2022 when we sold the company, the next school year I was in like the mid six figures, 400, 500 range, and it kind of stayed there until 2022 when we sold the company. So from a mindset perspective, more or less with my wife and I, it's why not us? Kind of what I've learned just from, being around the rooms with some of the most incredible entrepreneurs, 8, 9, 10-figure entrepreneurs, like most of the time, I always think, especially the 10-figure entrepreneurs, that like I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be like, they're like Elon Musk, and they're going to be like, so be over my head that I'm going to have no clue what they're talking about. But like, that's not the case. Like they're just been more or less like, if they can do it, I can do it kind of deal, right? And same thing for me. Like if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm just the joke is a redneck from South Carolina. And so that's where I grew up and where we moved from.
Don't let them fool you, folks.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think from a mindset perspective, it's obsession is key, and being completely obsessed with something. And then one of our friends together, Julian Becerra, kind of came on my podcast and said the mantra kind of burn the ships. And that's kind of what we've done is just completely burn the ships, be obsessed, go all in, and then, see what happens out of it.
I think from the, obviously you can talk about, social media in a lot of different ways. I want to kind of unpack that point where you were talking about being around, 7, 8, 9, 10-figure entrepreneurs and things. When you look at social media, it's, you talk about 20, 30 years ago, let's go back, you have this kind of almost Wizard of Oz mantra where it's like, there's this guy behind the curtain and he makes all, these crazy decisions and he must have all these skills that I don't have. And when you kind of start, uncovering content, meeting people, connecting people with things like that, yeah, there's some right place, right time. They have some different skills, and different abilities. But in the long run, it's a lot of basics that they just execute very well over and over and over again. They have that discipline and they have quick decision-making skills that, the average Joe just doesn't have. But it's not something, I think, like you said, why me? It's not something that the average Joe can't have.
Yeah, I think too, at scale, what I've learned, I mean, really, we've only been in company for 3 years. We've gone from,
which is incredible.
So I was the only employee, with my business partner, Michael, it was just me and him. to 170 employees in 3 years. And so I've just recently learned this, but like at scale, this is common sense. This is not anything that's going to be mind blowing, but how important the employees and the team around you are. And everybody knows that, but like just trying to put in perspective of like, it's not just important, but like, you know, I'm trying to hire people that are way smarter than me and know way more than me and just put them in the right positions. Our CRO, our COO, our CMO, just like they are the best at their craft. And, you know, I'm just more or less the quarterback dishing the ball around the field. And that's kind of, you know, has allowed us to grow as well.
I think that's so important. And, you know, again, unpacking that. It's two steps. So a lot of people, and you touched on both. So a lot of people talk about culture. Like, I want positive people around me. And not everybody, I've said it, not everybody's going to come to work every day with a smile on their face and everything's, you know, ice cream and rainbows and things like that. It would be really fun. But, you know, everybody has their own, you know, things going on in their personal lives. But what I will say is not only culture and good, for the most part, positive people working with you, but then on top of that, them being in the right role.
Right.
So, you know, you could have the most amazing, you know, person ever, but you wouldn't have them be your CFO if they can't, you know, crunch the numbers, do the, you know, the P&Ls and et cetera, et cetera. You know, it's a twofold perspective. It's not just, oh, I want really great people around me. I want great, capable people around me in the right positions.
And I think too, like for the leaders and entrepreneurs listening, or they want to be, you know, business owners one day, like, from the 170 employees to 1,000 employees, I will welcome each one personally. I just heard saw Tom Brady on an interview recently. The rookies come in, you know, they're all scared of Tom Brady. You know, like they're never going to go up to him. So he made it a point to go up to them, welcome them. You know, hey, can I do anything for you? What do you need? Because like he needs them to win. Mm-hmm. Like if there's a rookie wide receiver, like he needs him to be the top of his game if they're going to win the Super Bowl. Same thing for us. Like, whether it's the janitor of our office building, like I'm going to go above and beyond to be nice to them, to take care of them, to do all we can to put them in the best position. Same thing for our marketing team, our interns, whatever it may be, have them feel welcome and excited to be here to get the most out of them.
Absolutely. I had somebody that used to work for the firm. They, you know, decided to move on to other opportunity probably, you know, a year ago or something like that, 18 months ago. And she calls me with a case and she goes, hey, listen, you know, I know, you know, obviously you're one of the best out there and you're going to take good care of them. And this is a friend of mine. And hey, can you, you know, talk to them and stuff like that? And I was like, that was one of the biggest compliments ever. You want people, not everybody's going to like you. That's how life goes. But when people do leave you, you want them to say, hey, you know, Elliot was a good guy. Hey, yeah, he was great to work for. Hey, you know, he was doing a good job over there. You know, and that is crucial.
And I think too, like, the KPI for that perspective is turnover, right?
Of course.
How often is your staff turning over? And we were in 2025, so here we are, January 26th. I don't know when this is coming out, but 2025, we didn't have a single team member leave. We let go of some people that couldn't measure up, but not a single person quit, resigned, or whatever it may be. And so I think, you know, that obviously goes into a lot of how important, I think people don't realize how much of a secret kind of silent killer that turnover is. Because it's hard.
It's huge.
I mean, it's hard.
Slows down the team, or at least part of the team. Training the systems again, finding the person. Right. You know, if you're paying a headhunter, et cetera. I mean, a lot of moving
not just
parts.
Our onshore team, like our offshore team. Like one of the businesses that we run is a property management company. So we have an offshore team in the Philippines and Venezuela that run all the guest communication. And then so from 3 years ago, it's kind of a funny story. There's a buddy of mine that had a long-term rental property management company, and then when we were starting our short-term rental property management company, I reached out to him. Hey, do you have any VAs that that might know another VA to come work with us? And then yes was the answer. And then we got connected with a guy named Tom in the Philippines, and Tom is still with us. Here 3 years later,
grinding it out, yeah.
And then same thing, it's like, hey Tom, who else you know? So now we have 40-something. VAs in the Philippines that just came from one guy knowing each other, and there's like little families of VAs that work for us.
That's amazing.
Kind of $5 an hour too.
Well,
we were living like kings over there.
We'll cut that.
No,
I'm just
like
kidding.
Kings over there.
Is it really? Yeah, I don't know enough. I mean, I know offshore VAs are like super cheap, very capable, but $5 an hour, and they're living like kings and queens.
Yeah, I think market rate's like $350 an hour.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So God, it's hard enough to find a receptionist.
Yeah.
Home Team Collective. Is it still Home Team Collective is kind of the main hub, I guess? And then because it was probably a podcast I watched about from a year ago.
Yeah.
You own 12 companies, but
Yeah.
you were opening more.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about the dynamics where we're at now.
Yeah, so probably about 6 or 7 months ago, middle of 2025, we rebranded from the Home Team Collective to the Rise Collective.
Okay.
Because Home Team, that's how we started, was Home Team Vacation Rentals. And so Home Team kind of
And that's how I knew you as.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. And then, because the Home Team kind of had the brand of being a property management company. And so we're like, okay, Home Team Collective, yeah, but then people still think Home Team is associated with just a property management company. So we kind of wanted to come up with a brand that we could scale with and add, 40 businesses to if we wanted to. So we came up with the Rise Collective.
I'm surprised nobody owned that.
I know.
That's crazy that you were able to snatch that up these days.
There was no one named that, called that, or no website. So there was even the website, like therisecollective.com was just one of the GoDaddy owned it, and so
okay,
yeah, so it was pretty open.
Great.
So that's been good, and then yes, there are 12 businesses still under the Rise Collective, all the way from our property management company to our biggest business is B&B Turnkey, which is our done-for-you investment service. We work with celebrities, business owners.
So talk about that. Let's go into that. Let's break that. Obviously, we know you do the property management and the construction aspect, and just basically all things kind of Airbnb. But really, the main businesses these days, I would say, is probably the turnkey property. Correct? And all of them kind of funnel into that business.
Right. Yeah. So it kind of all started. So my business partner is an amazing individual, Michael Elefante. He's the largest social media influencer in short-term rentals. He lives in South Carolina. So he was always putting out content of the success that he was having with his properties, our properties, kind of everything. And then enough people just kept asking him, hey, can I just give you $500,000? I don't have the time to do this. Can I just give you $500,000? You go do this for me? It's kind of like enough people asked, we were like, all right, we got to build this, service. Because doing 3 or 4, we could do that ourselves. But doing 30 a month, that's going to take significant scale.
And capital.
Correct. Yeah. And so we do, 20 to 30 people a month come into our program. It's a high ticket offer. It's $20K. And then there's a per square foot design fee, construction fee as well. And then, but it's the only service of its kind in the country. So we have no competition. There's some companies that offer just the search, the analyzation side, or just the design side, or just the management side. But we incorporate it all in one with W-2 employees. We don't outsource anything. So phase 1, we're handling all the analyzation, underwriting. Phase 2, all the interior design, construction. And then phase 3, all the management on the back end. So the athletes, the celebrities, the doctors, the attorneys that are too busy to do it, but there's significant tax advantages to doing it, can kind of, invest the $250K plus that we require, and then kind of their hands off.
Talk about the tax advantages.
Yeah, so it's called the short-term rental loophole. There's a lot of guidelines that go into it, but the main two, and this is not tax or CPA advice, talk to your CPA, but the main two.
We don't offer any type of advice on this podcast. We just ramble for a good hour, and hopefully you guys get something up out of it, and then follow up with somebody that may know what they're doing.
Yeah, so it's all based on the 1986 Tax Act. So that basically, if the stay is less than 7 days, kind of so hotels, and it's not just Airbnbs, it's hotels, RV parks, Airbnbs, it meets material participation. So once that's the case, and then once the investor has 100 hours involved, they can basically take advantage of the short-term rental loophole. And the big beautiful bill back in July that Trump passed brought back 100% bonus depreciation. So up to 2022, kind of like 2019, 2022, there was 100% bonus depreciation. But then 2023 was 80%, 24 was 60%, last year was 40% before it was brought back. So what that means is, on average, 28% of purchase price plus improvements can be depreciated. So say it's an $800,000 home that you put $200K in, so it's $1 million. 28% of that, $280K, can be depreciated. So if I'm a doctor that makes $280K a year, I just completely wiped out my tax bill because my income shows not 280, but minus 280 is zero. So my income shows zero. It's a paper loss, is all it is. Saying if I make $1 million, I'm getting taxed on the $720K, not getting taxed on the $1 million. So at that point, whatever 37%, there's no Florida income tax, so whatever 37% of the federal income taxes of $720.
Yeah, you saved like $100,000.
Exactly. And so, invest $250K into a property or that you own, you control, or throw away $100,000 in taxes to the government who, if it's anything like Minnesota, they're not going to be doing.
There's some things going on.
Doing well with that money.
Things going on. So not only are you providing a, no pun intended, but turnkey service where it's like, hey, listen, we're a proven commodity where we can take these funds, deploy them properly, but also too, there's massive tax advantages to what you do. Wanted to talk about, and you've kind of touched a little bit on it, how did you scale so quickly?
Michael helped.
Okay.
He and I are 50-50 business partners, and Facebook ads we're really good at. We're really good at Facebook ads, and we're really good at organic content through Michael. I think on Instagram he has like 700,000 followers, and then
I'm sure there's a good amount of word of mouth too.
Yeah,
like, hey, these guys,
and referrals.
I was going to say, I'm sure that at this point is gained some significant steam now that you guys have had the clients, or probably a lot of repeat business as well. It's like, hey, find me another one.
Exactly.
Hey, find me another one.
Are, they're going to keep making their income on, if they're a doctor, or an attorney, or a surgeon, whatever. And they're going to keep having the same problem over and over again. And so of owing too much money to the government on the IRS. And so, we have people that have done 6, 7, 8 properties with us at this point. So
that's incredible. And, talking about that too, what is that? Do you have like a questionnaire when you're, talking to a prospective client? Like, it's like, hey, I only want to be in, Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and Tennessee. I mean, do you got to go over those attributes, or do you have deals in the hopper that, hey, we already got this one that's halfway done, or how does that kind of work?
A little bit of both. I would say, so there's always an onboarding call. Like, once you sign up for our services, they're going to be an onboarding call that we ask the same questions that you just said. All right, budget, location, state preferences, amenity preferences. 95% plus don't care. They're like, hey guys, we just want a cash flowing property and receive the tax incentives, because the cash flow is just a bonus, right? I mean, we're going to shoot for 8 to 12% returns.
Really, you just want somebody paying your mortgage,
right?
If you even have one,
right?
But
And there's other creative ways using creative financing too. That like I did one last year. I bought a cabin subject to in Gatlinburg, and so what subject to is essentially you're taking over the loan for the existing homeowner. And in this example, it was an older gentleman who wanted to buy an Airbnb, and the reason they fail is the reason we created B&B Turnkey, because they have no clue what they're doing. It's not a long-term rental game where you buy the property, you throw it for rent, and you're done. Like, there is so much skill that goes into, just like there is any football organization or baseball.
Yeah, how are you going to fix a broken toilet in South Carolina when you're in Florida or Tennessee or whatever?
And the optimization of the listing and the interior design and the hospitality of it, it takes tremendous skill. And he wasn't even listed on Airbnb. He was only listed on Vrbo, and so he was just failing. Didn't know what he was doing.
Probably didn't know why.
Yeah, and then also bought the wrong house, so he was upside down. Wasn't going to be able to sell it and so.
You're just like, why didn't you call me?
Yeah, so then you can work. Yeah, exactly. But then, there are services out there like Bird Dog Services who will kind of, call around. They see a house in the market too long and kind of explain, subject to, or we take over the mortgage. And so that one was a crazy deal because essentially it was like a $1.2 million cabin that we took over for essentially, we paid the guy $50K, and that was kind of it. That was kind of like the entry fee to it. And we pay his mortgage, but after that, so I think the mortgage is like, I don't know, $6K or something.
Okay.
So as long as we make $6K $6,001 a month, like,
which is a $1.2 million cabin. You're probably renting for what, $300-400 a night?
right.
Yeah. So as long as you're getting 12 nights a month, you're breaking even, or 15. But
the beauty of it all is we at this point essentially not technically, but kind of in the tax eyes, we own the property, so we can depreciate the whole entire property.
Yes, of course.
So if we use that same example of 28% of 1.2, you're talking $320K.
It's massive.
So we spent $50K to garner $350K, $320K on a tax bill. And so it was actually more than that because of the house, the specific situations. On average, it's 28%. This one was like $400K depreciation.
Wow.
So you're talking 50, and I'll trade you 50K for 400K. Who wouldn't take that deal, right? And so, because that's what it gets hard to, as you start making significant amounts of income, you got to buy more and more properties. So it's like, how can you create more leverage of a 1 to 8 relationship versus like typically sometimes it's just like 1 to 1.
Well, I think the other thing that people forget too, and maybe it's in the Airbnb side, it's the even long-term rentals and stuff. You're really not, and I want to say this as humbly as possible. Me making $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month on a rental property or return is cash flowing, et cetera, is not attractive. I can go do that.
Right.
Probably I can definitely do it in the S&P. So that's the tax incentives really, and then the ability for you guys to maximize a property and just handle everything. That's the more attractive side rather than, I made an extra $500 a month, because if it cost me 10 hours to do that, I lost money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's clients making significant, 4, 5, 6, 7 grand a month on their properties, and because the property,
but not doing anything.
Right. Not doing anything.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, these properties, even if you just go on our website and even just look, they're all large single-family resort-style homes, with lazy rivers, golf courses on the property. Michael and I are about to go live with one in Texas that's a $250,000 wiffle ball field that we installed.
No way.
So
talk about that. Let's that's with Airbnbs especially. That's what's always. I've never even rented one, which is kind of crazy, but. That's what's always excited me, like the Harry Potter theme or the Star Wars theme or a lazy river or a racetrack or this or that. So tell me how you try to design these properties to differentiate from just mom and pop with a pool and a lazy boy.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I think you first got to start, like when we talk to clients, let's say a client, we get this question all the time, hey, I have $1 million to invest into this Airbnb. Should I do 4 properties at $250K a piece or 1 at $1 million? We make more money if they do 4 at $250 on our fees, but we always tell them, no, you're going to do 1 at $1 million, because you don't just want to make money this year and next year. Like in 2035, you want that property to make money. And so what we do is there's different services out there. The main 2 are AirDNA and Summer OS. They're data scraping services where you can go pull an address and it'll pull all the Airbnbs around that property and how much money they make. So you insert any address in the entire country, really the world. And if there's an Airbnb near it, it'll scrape the data from that Airbnb and generally have a good idea. It's not like 100% accurate, but you can kind of when it's not accurate and when it is. And so we know, let's say we were just looking at this yesterday for a client in Sedona, Arizona. And so you go in Sedona and you just go to top properties. They're doing 400 to 600K in bookings in a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's like, we want to stick to a 15 to 20%.
I need 5 of those. Yeah.
15 and 20% revenue to purchase price. And so will Sedona be a good market? Okay, let's go look. This property does 400K. Can you get it for less than $2 million? If you can, yes, it's a good market. If it's a $4 million house, it's not going to pencil. And so this example, there was an individual who owned a property on 26 acres. One of those properties we managed, the top property in the market, and they were in a build on the 26 acres. So they need to be at a build cost like under $500 a square foot. That was going to be the case, so it pencils. So it's just about going into any market in the country and trying to find that 20%. If it's going to do 200K in bookings, it's got to be under $1 million in purchase price, or at least close, right? 1.1 would be fine. So there's plenty of markets like that in the country, but also have like demand as well, and not be like, I wish we could manage more properties in Vail and Aspen and Malibu and the Hamptons.
Of course.
But
they're $30 million.
right.
Yeah.
So they're not going to pencil. And so those are mainly properties, one of two things, when they've just been passed down from generation to generation. So they're probably paid off at this point, and so they don't really, they're just making money no matter what. Or they're an individual who, taxes, mortgage, they're going to lose $500,000 on the house. They're going to rent it to hopefully just lose $200K and not lose $500,000, just lose less. And so where our properties are more in markets that fit that 20% ratio, so we don't do, we have a couple in the ritzy areas of the country.
Even look at Miami. It's like, hey, you get $400, $500, $600 a night, but it's a $5 million house.
Right.
So it's like, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
Let me talk about Successful DNA. I want to talk about your podcast a little bit. So obviously that's how we met, and it was a great time being on that. With that being said, obviously it's a huge driver and something that you can pull content from. How important is it to make content, to educate people, and how do you go through that process?
I think it's very important, and something I'm trying to even improve on and invest in. Recently we've hired one full-time employee and 2 interns to strictly do personal content for me. And just seeing how it's been, how successful it's been for Michael, and just the opportunities that a personal brand with a large amount of followers can impact an individual. You think about it with Logan Paul and Prime, where Prime being bigger than Gatorade now. Like, just because of a YouTube influencer, Instagram influencer.
You bring that up. You think about, and I've talked to about it with a few friends. The Pokemon card, the $5 million Pokemon card that he's auctioning and stuff like that. I'm like, is this guy? He's not a kid anymore. Is this guy that forward thinking that he sees an opportunity like Pokemon, 3 years ago? And maybe he probably does love Pokemon and things like that,
yeah.
But buys a card for $5 million, takes it around everywhere. 3 years later, he's about to double his money, and more than likely, and it obviously we're, some more time in the auction, but, they've said it could go for $10 million. So he's going to double his money in 3 years, make $5 million, and then make all that money on content and everything like that on the way up. Insane.
Yeah, obviously a very smart individual, but, I don't know this, but I would bet, he hired amazing people around him.
Yeah.
He's playing the tax game too. He moved to Puerto Rico. Well,
I've thought about it. Yeah.
There's no income tax in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like the single digits, if there is any. I can't remember. I think it's maybe 5%. I had a buddy, there was a neighbor, he was a day trader, made $1 million a year. So he was forking over 370 of that, to the federal government. He said, screw it, I'm moving to Puerto Rico. Moved his family to Puerto Rico. And so, the advisors around him to start businesses.
Do you really blame him at that point?
No,
it's like,
I would, if my wife would do it, I'm out.
I've thought about it.
Yeah.
I really have. It would be obviously harder with the kids and the family and stuff like that. And there would be a lot of considerations, but it's like, they're saving. His brother got paid what, 100 million, 90, 100 million for that next Netflix fight. He saved over $30 million.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
Yeah, I brought it up to Kylie. It got shut down quick.
Yeah, I get it.
And she doesn't want to raise 3 kids in Puerto Rico.
I don't think my wife would either, but You, speaking of that, your father, family man, talk about, with all this growth, everything you have going on, all these companies, balancing with family, being able to spend time with your kiddos and stuff like that. How does that kind of work?
Yeah, I think people, if I had any advice for any individual, what is one thing that they could focus on? What is one word, one thing? I would choose the word legacy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I just think, relate it to your funeral. When I had our pastor who came on my podcast, he put it 3 ways, because he does a lot of funerals. And he was like, there's 3 types of dads at a funeral. 1, dad, wasn't around much. Dad sucked. We're just here because we kind of have to be. The kids say that, And then 2, dad was okay. He was around, but also worked a lot. Or 3, dad was the absolute best dad ever. So what do you want people to say at your funeral? What do you want your legacy to be? Sure. I think from a business perspective, I want to use our businesses to change the world. That's even our company mission statement. It has nothing to do. We want to do, of course, we have goals. We're going to do $100 million in bookings this year. But
How does it feel to say that real quick? Like, isn't that crazy to say something like that?
I mean,
and not like Shark Tank, like our company's going to be worth $100 million. Like, no. This is where we are actually going.
Yeah.
That's got to be insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I guess a cliche, but like, I pinch myself sometimes. Like, how did this even happen, right?
Right.
And so, but going back to my kids, and even going back to the backstory, like growing up wasn't that easy. I had a mental ill mom, and my dad was awesome, but just because of the situation wasn't great. So then I knew, and like, looking for a girlfriend, looking for a wife, that I wanted someone who would just be a rock solid mom. And so that's been great because I can go into the office, go on work trips, whatever it may be, and know my kids are in the best, hands ever. And, I want to be the first and foremost best husband in the world, best father in the world, and then the best CEO in the world. And, you only get one shot to be a dad. I've never met anybody that said they wish they spent less time with their kids. They always say they wish to spend more time with their kids. And it's hard, especially in the day and age we live in where we're addicted to this. And so trying to put this away, I try to put it, the furthest away from our bedroom is our guest bathroom. I put my phone in our guest bathroom every night.
I don't blame you.
Just to try and be with my kids more, and be with my wife more. And, I've always wanted a son, and my wife blessed us with two. And we have our first daughter on the way.
Oh, congrats.
So she's doing May.
It's so much better. My daughter just turned 1, and it's like, I don't know, she's a little rambunctious too. Little Kevin's kind of rubbing off on her and stuff. I'm watching her the other day, just kind of hanging out on my phone and stuff like that, and watching. We're in the playroom. Little gal just dives into the toy bin. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, you were supposed to be the chill one.
And then I also have.
But it's fun. Yeah,
I can't wait. And then I'll also try and like include my kids in the business. I think entrepreneurs and fathers make a mistake. So I go into the office on Thursdays, but I work from home other than that. And the kids know the door's locked. That means I'm on an external phone call, big sales call, whatever. They can't interrupt. But if the door's unlocked, like even if I'm on a call, come in. That means it's an internal phone call, and they're listening. Like, hey, you can't interrupt me, but you can listen. You can ask a question if you want to. But they're listening to the whole conversation. So then we had one, it was last week, and after the call, my 6-year-old was like, Dad, what's an STR? Short-term rental. Dad, what's ROI? Return on investment. And there was another acronym. I can't forget what we were talking about. And he asked about that acronym. And so, like, how many 6-year-olds are learning that in kindergarten? Like
not even
none.
Close. Yeah.
So it's like just being around it. He's able to ask questions. He comes into the office all the time. He comes to our event. So, like, I want them to see how hard Dad works, so that they can, have, because I had a strong example of work ethic with my father, and kind of, modeled myself around that, but also model, Dad, I wanted them to ask one day, Dad, how are you around so much and do that? Like, I'm also the coach's pitch coach, the T-ball coach.
I just don't sleep, son. I just don't sleep.
So next week, baseball starts in the middle of flag football season. So Monday night, I got T-ball practice. Tuesday night, we have A-ball games. Wednesday night, A-ball practice. Flag football practice. Thursday night, A-ball practice. Friday night, we're off. Friday night is football game. Saturday is baseball game. So Sunday is the only day we have off. And the rest is, so it's like, sure, I could be the deadbeat dad that just goes in the office all the time and like shows up late to the game, doesn't coach the game, shows up halfway through. But like, I just don't want to be that dad. So.
My dad was a superhero, and I had a similar, kind of experience what you were doing with your boys. My dad was in real estate, so building auto parts stores and low-income houses and leasing office space around the country. And I was around for a lot of those trips and a lot of those things, and I got to hear the phone calls like you did, and I was, learning, site selection and, cost per square foot, and, and I thought it was, all the people my dad dad was interacting with, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, I want a job like where I talk to all these people and make these important decisions, and I want to be successful like that. So I think it really rubs off on your kids. But like you said, my dad was at every skateboarding contest. He was at every paintball event. He would go sit at the skate park and watch me skate, so I didn't break my arm for 2 hours. So, or if I did, he could take me to the hospital. So, but that's so important. And kids, we forget, hear everything and they see everything. So when you want them to make good decisions later in life, it's these, early lessons that they get that are so crucial. The other thing that I wanted to circle back on is I understand what you're saying exactly about having, and it probably didn't even dawn on me until, in the last couple of years having a family, but having a spouse that you can count on and can rely upon. Obviously, everybody wants to be with a little hottie and stuff like that, and smart, and, but really to be a great mom and a rock of the family and somebody that is loyal is it probably trumps everything.
Right.
So we can, and not to be, beat our chest so we could go out like men and hunt and things like that. But, it's my wife works as well and works her tail off, but it's integral to be able to have that success that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, I talk about it on our all hands, like company calls all the time. Like, shout out to the moms in our company
100%.
That are working their ass off for the company. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be able to do what my wife does and be the CEO of this company.
Oh, yeah.
Like, one would have to give up. Like, and I don't even know how like single moms do it for sure. Like,
I employ or have employed a couple of them, and it's like they're superheroes. They're rock stars.
Because like we have all the resources that we could ever have, right, to like raise kids. Kylie's parents are close by. We have a full-time nanny. We can go do Uber Eats whenever we want. We can go do ship groceries whenever we want. So like it's hard then. It's still hard, right? And then so in 2019, Kylie and I were foster parents.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a great organization in Tampa called A Door of Hope, and it's a Christian organization to kind of end, not end, but just create a better foster care system in Florida, specifically Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco County. And we got involved in that. It's a crazy God story. We were trying to get pregnant and couldn't. We got married in 2016, so come like 2017 to 2019, just had trouble conceiving. Miscarriage in 2018. Felt the call to foster care, and March of 2019, we finally got approved. We're at a Rays game, actually. Phone call came through. It was like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Hey, you're approved. Oh, great. Thanks for letting us know. Hey, there's 2 kids at the office. Can you take them? No, we're only approved for 1. Oh, no, you're good. You can take 2. They're brother and sister. And we're like, all right, we'll be home in an hour. And then they're waiting on us with the police and 2 kids that got taken from the home. I'll get into that. But so that night in March or April, I can't remember, the kids showed up with nothing, just the clothes on their back, and so we called our friends. We called our friends like, "Hey, can you go to Walmart, get a night supply of diapers?" They were 3 in 1, so diapers, pull-ups, clothes, toothbrush for us. We weren't ready at all, so they did that. They came, brought it to our house. So we finally got them ready for bed. Finally got them in bed. We had the beds ready. We were somewhat ready, and then it's probably 10 o'clock at that point. I hear my wife crying in the bathroom. I'm like, that's weird. Long day, emotional day. I go in there. She's on the toilet looking at a positive pregnancy test.
Wow, that's incredible.
With our now 6-year-old. So the night we got the foster kids. And but the reason I even got to that story was so their mom, the foster kid's mom. So she lived in St. Pete, 4 kids, 4 different dads, unfortunately, and not a single one was involved in their lives. She had no job. So it's like, I would never do anything to lose my kids. But like just now that I have kids, like I get it. Like I get how hard it is. And with the resources that we have versus what she had nothing. She didn't, and so now it was her own fault. I'm not trying to,
of course,
say that she deserved it or anything. But, of course she made the decisions. It's her fault that she was in the position that she was in. But it's hard.
It's 100% very difficult. And, the biggest thing that I try to remind myself too is like when I come home, that light switch of pressure, stress, angst from work has to switch off, because it's like that little boy or that little girl's been waiting all day to play with mom and dad, or play with dad especially, or go outside. So I try to do whatever I can to kind of, I still take calls in the evenings, whatever I need to do on the work side. But I try to obviously put away any angst, stress, pressure, or anything like that, because those little ones don't understand that.
I mean, at this point, they're still like puppies, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna be so sad the day I come home and they're not excited to see me. Now it's like they're waiting on me at the door. Dad, football. Dad, baseball. Dad, all right, let's go.
Yeah, so let's do it. The real estate market, I want to circle back a little bit, is incredibly competitive now. I mean, with rates and people trying to buy home, et cetera, just all these different factors, right? How do you stay competitive? How do you locate these properties and things like that?
Yeah, I think this has been the past probably 2 to 3 years, really, after the COVID boom, has been really tough on real estate, specifically like mortgage lenders, real estate agents, especially on the primary residence side. Obviously we've been blessed to not be just on the primary residence side. We're fully involved from an investment standpoint. Supply is still low, but there's also not a lot of buyers out there either. So it's kind of like in the standstill.
Still got this balancing where you can do your thing.
We haven't, especially if you compare it to real estate agents, so we have our own realty company. Like, I think our first agent started in March of 2025, and from March to December, she closed like 45 deals or something.
Wow, hustling. That's insane.
Yeah. So I mean,
in this market, that's incredible.
She hustled, but also, I mean, we provided her with 45 leads, right? And so
it makes it a little easier.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I bet she's the first realtor to, even in their first year, and these weren't little $200,000 homes, right?
No.
Probably average purchase price was like $800K. And so to go do 45 deals at an average purchase price of $800K, like whatever that math is to the total transactional value, I doubt any first year realtor's ever done that in the country, in history. And so I'm sure someone's like, this person did, but maybe there's one or two.
Yeah.
But so the market's been fine for us. Obviously, it makes it harder to analyze, not harder, to create exceptional cash-on-cash returns with interest rates that are lower now, but they were, 8-9%.
Yeah, crazy.
And so, especially if you're doing more of a non-conventional loan, whether it's a DSCR loan or a bank statement loan, they were getting up there. So,
how do you? And with that being said, obviously, going in tangent with the competitiveness. Give us some tips or some advice. Everybody says they want to be in real estate. You know what I mean? I want to be in real estate. I want to do real estate investing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that somebody shouldn't do something, but what are some red flags that people should watch out for? What are some thoughts that people should have before they kind of make that leap?
Yeah, I mean, I think real estate investing, you need to be careful if you're looking at it for just a cash flow play, looking at it for just passive income, looking at it for just, escape the 9 to 5 by investing in real estate. So I have passive income.
I want to set my own hours.
Right, yeah. So be careful with that. I don't think, even as an entrepreneur, I still kind of consider myself having a 9 to 5. I play with my kids in the morning. I go to the office around 9 or 10. Now, sure, if it's a little different, I can cancel my day whenever I want, right? But I think it's very important to, use the passive income. That's just bonus income. That's not to go, because then what are you going to do? You're going to sit around the house and watch Netflix while your passive income
I've never understood that either, and that's a great question if I ever get somebody on the podcast like, I make $30,000 a month in passive income. It's like, so how many times do you golf and fish? Because you got to be really bored in 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I think where our schools, especially our public schools, have failed us is the implications and how impactful real estate can be on taxes. So especially if you can get rep status, which is real estate professional status, which is 750 hours a year in real estate and over half of everything you do. So I reach rep status having a property management company, and it's half of everything I do. So therefore, not just the short-term rentals are 100% bonus depreciated, but any real estate is. And I mean, the math, once you include the cash flow, the appreciation, and the depreciation, there's not a single stock or a single bond or a single oil and gas deal or a single charitable land donation trust deal that compares to it. And so, I mean, I think if there's someone that makes $400K plus, they need to be putting, especially if they're under the age of 40, they need to be putting every single penny they, spend as least money as you can. I think people make a mistake of that. They get money, then they go buy the Lambo, then they go buy, the second home, then they go buy the boat. And
there's nothing wrong with buying the Lambo. Okay,
I know.
It's the Lambo's but the rest of that, don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't do. No, I'm just kidding.
You're a big car guy.
Yeah, no, I get exactly.
Yeah.
I agree. You need to, and I always try to look at my own portfolio of, it switches, and what I'm trying to get at is it's not about as much making money anymore, which sounds crazy. Stay with me. It's more about how much can I not pay in taxes?
Right. How much can you keep?
It's like great if you go and you made $1 million that year, which is incredible. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Shout out to anybody that does that. If you get 400 back,
if you live in New York, you get 500 back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, how do you really? It's not how do I keep as much of that $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 delta that I can?
I would argue $1 million isn't a lot of money if you live in New York. Because,
not anymore.
Yeah, because,
between cost of living and taxes.
Then you're in a $500K. Then
you don't have to ride the subway.
Yep. Then you bought the biggest, too big of a house, so your mortgage is $60,000 a year. So now you're making $440,000. Now you send your kids to private school. That's $40,000. Now you're at $400,000. So the costs just add up. Before you know it, you don't have any money left, right? And so
I've talked about that. I've done that analysis before. I see all the influencers in Miami, and it's like, I got the penthouse, $15,000 a month. Then I'm buying the Chrome Hearts at $10,000 a month. Then I got the Lambo and the SUV. That's another $10,000 a month. And then it's like, dude, you make $100 a month, but you got 3 to show for it.
And the problem is, I'm just so glad that.
But they get the views.
Yeah, I'm so glad my wife and I don't have like this. What's it called? By just watching others.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses. Because one of our clients, I won't say where, I might give it away. They're one's a doctor and then the spouse is an attorney.
Okay.
And total household income was like 1.2 million, and they were broke, like absolutely broke.
It's common. We don't do bankruptcy anymore. My partner's a bankruptcy trustee, so he's on the other side. And it's I asked him like old stories and stuff, and it's crazy. You'll see somebody pull up in a $150,000 S class. They're coming in to file for bankruptcy, and it's like, what? Like, how did that happen? Yeah, people just scaled their lifestyle quickly.
I mean, theirs was their primary residence. I think the mortgage was like $28,000 or something crazy. So $300,000 plus of the 1.2 was going to a mortgage.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's the people get kind of dive into that. I mean, people get cheeky all the time with the brands and having nice things. And I have nice things. We all do. I am completely all for having nice things that you're scaling properly with your income, meaning you can go wear a nice Nike shirt, $40, $50 Nike shirt. That's dope. You don't need to wear an $800 Louis Vuitton t-shirt. No. Guess what? Nobody really cares that much.
I think it's the opposite, actually.
Yeah, it's like you just spent $800 on a t-shirt, you knucklehead. And listen, if you're making bread like that, like go do your thing. But I do think people get crazy.
I just think too, like your financial intelligence has to be, you have to plan early. You have to sit down, now to start thinking about the tax bill that you're going to owe for 2026, right? What can I do in January, February, and March 2026 to, if I'm knowing that if I didn't do anything about it last year and I made $1 million, I'm going to send $300K to the, here comes April. And in April, I'm going to have to write a check for $300,000.
So you start getting the calls, what? August, September is probably your busiest month. Like,
dude, and
it's going to be a great year, but fix this.
Right, you're right. We get calls, and it's so hard because you have to be.
So you need to be proactive, is what you're saying. I interrupted you.
Because the hard part too, like you go ask 3 tax advisors, actually licensed CPAs.
Yeah, knowledgeable folks.
Go ask them, hey, what I need to do by the end of the year to be able to create the bonus depreciation. One will say you just have to have it live on a listing service. One will say you have to have it live and have bookings. One will have to say you have to have 2 check-ins.
And the fourth will say go buy a plane.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just like there's 70,000 lines of tax code in that, 70,000 plus, probably 80,000 now. So it's all about the interpretation of that tax code. The tax code doesn't say, hey, buy the Airbnb, get it live by here, have this, have that. It doesn't say that. It's these tax professionals interpreting, the tax code to create the loopholes, essentially. So you have to sit down ahead of time, like, do I want to go spend, $300,000 on a Lamborghini? If it's over 6,000 pounds, that might be a good idea. But if it's not over 6,000 pounds, you have a choice to make. Go put $300K to a Lambo or $300K in an Airbnb that's going to create cash flow and create appreciation, create depreciation. No offense to the Lambo guy here, but
I'll chill out on the Lambos for a little bit. I want to, as we're wrapping up, that leads me to, a question as far as if somebody is looking for your services for Rise Collective, how much, and they're trying to create a tax loss that year, how much lead time would, obviously the more the better, but how much lead time would you say is like comfortable? Like, hey, listen, we can probably get this rocking in 120 days or
so
what does that look like?
The problem is essentially when you come in and tell it, and sign up for our services versus when you close on the property. Because we can close and we like to close. In a perfect world, we close in January and we do a significant remodel and
that's probably 60, 90 days in itself.
At least, right? And so, we can close on a property in December and go live with it as current is, then come January, do the big remodel, and add all the, sick amenities and whatnot.
Got it.
So, if you're going to close in December, and then get 2 bookings in there to be safe, that's the most safest way to do it. And not have it live, but have 2 bookings at check-in. So you need to have it live. So you need to, have a Christmas booking essentially and a New Year's booking. So have it live by at least December 15th. So to be live by December 15th, you gotta, close on December 13th. 30, 45-day close. So you got to be under contract early, mid-November. So we got to have time to find the home. So you're talking like, less than a month. So middle to end of October to even get it for that year.
Okay, so September's safe.
Yeah.
August, September, right. You're definitely in the, before, back to school.
October, you're safe. You start getting towards like November is almost impossible.
Yeah, especially with the holidays and stuff like that and trying to close, et cetera.
You got to do a quick cash close. If you come to us in December, it's like, hey, can you close a $1 million home in all cash? Then yes, we can,
you can do it in a week.
Do it.
Yeah,
but
inspections and you're done.
Right. But if you got to get an appraisal, do all the underwriting for the loan, is just not possible.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I cannot thank you enough for coming today. Absolutely amazing conversation. As always, I'm going to make sure that all of Elliot and the Rise Collective's social medias and contact details are in the description below. If you guys want to get in the real estate game in I'm going to call it a responsible way, if you guys want to talk about some massive tax savings, if you guys want to just make sure that, again, and I harp on this, doing real estate the right way, definitely give Elliot and his team a call. I can't thank you enough. And as I always say, it is not an accident that Elliot is as successful as he is. And appreciate, my friend.
Thanks, bro.
We'll talk soon. Be good.